Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again, brandishing a knife. Today I'm talking about Ghost for the third time since the inception of this YouTube channel, particularly on the subject of touring difficulties. Tobias Forge, the frontman, has spoken out about how difficult touring is right now for bands, particularly in Europe. And he's revealed that Ghost were presented with an interesting challenge upon the release of their latest LP, Impera. So I watched this interview and chime in with my 2 pennies worth. Can't say fairer than that, can I? Justin Hawkins rides again. Lovely. Those were harmonics.
Ghost frontman Tobias Forge is opening up about an issue that is adversely affecting a lot of bands, leaving them unable to tour. Now, during the pandemic, nobody was able to go out on tour, and now there is a different problem, and it's really 2 different issues. Number one, with such demand, people going out on the road, it is extremely difficult to find reliable transportation, tour buses, and then on top of that, with rising gas prices, it has only become more expensive.
Let's not get into the rising price of fuel because I think that affects everybody that uses the road. But I do think there's a real problem with finding reliable transportation for bands. You know, those sleeper buses are really expensive and there's not that many of them around. So when you get one, it's your home for the duration of the tour. You need it to be comfortable, reliable. And for a band at our size, Darkness's size, we use a tour bus to get from one gig to another. We try and travel in optimum comfort and luxury with a driver that we all know and trust. And then on a day off, we'll have a hotel. But it's important to get to the hotel early enough to make the most of it. Recently, we had a tour in the Americas where the tour bus may not have been in optimal condition. There might have been a slight problem with the radiator, which happens to vehicles of a certain age. And there's not much you can do about it. It's nobody's fault, really. But the reality was it's very difficult to get that bus swapped out in a timely fashion. And you end up losing your days off because you're travelling at a snail's pace, topping up constantly with coolant so that you don't have an engine that explodes on the way. And it can make touring into a cruel, unending slog. It's really, really difficult to find the enjoyment of touring when you don't have the right transportation. I think after COVID, everybody wanted to get out on the road as quickly as possible. So it's difficult to find promoters that could squeeze you in. And then it's difficult to find a way to get from A to B. So I fully agree with that. And now it's fucking expensive because of all the petrol prices going up. It's a bloody nightmare, I tell you.
In addition to that, there are a lot of musicians that rely on touring internationally. And in Europe, there is a lot of instability right now, which you're going to hear the Ghost frontman talk about. And all of this is only leading to more difficult circumstances for musicians.
At the risk of pulling this conversation away from Ghost and towards the darkness, I'll say this. We had a situation at the end of last year when we had to announce that we were cancelling a tour in Europe. And then like the next day we were announcing that we were putting a tour in America on sale, which shows you that, after COVID, I think Europe has taken a little bit longer, in the music trade at least, to recover. We found that promoters are reluctant to wholeheartedly take a chance on touring at a certain level. I actually saw Ghost in Zurich a little while ago. It was an amazing show. Like the production was really impressive, and I thought that the playing was brilliant. The sound was amazing. It was a great show, but there weren't as many people there as I would normally think a promoter would expect, to put them in a room like that, which was an arena. And I think I did speak to Tobias about that on the night, and he was saying that it's tough out there. I mean, the Darkness has had to downscale a show in LA. It was, I don't ever feel any shame in that. I'd rather play in a a small club that's full of people than in a a theatre that's a quarter full. That would be really depressing, I think. So I'd rather do that. So I think after COVID, there's a little bit of reluctance from audiences to come out, and there's a lot of uncertainty as to whether the tickets will shift, and so it makes promoters nervous, and it makes it very difficult to plot a tour if there's big chunks of Europe where they're not prepared to sort of take a punt on you. Then you're not going to be able to build a tour. This is before you start thinking about the impact of Brexit if you're having to be a band from the UK that's trying to tour in Europe. It's a fucking nightmare.
But we had already decided to not do the summer festival route just because 2022's lineup was 2020's lineups, so there was no place for us. They couldn't cater to a new band coming in because all the slots were taken since 2 years back.
Yeah, that's another thing about this last festival season this year. I was saying this in a previous video. I think sometimes like the bill of a festival for 2022 can look a bit outdated, really. Sometimes it almost seems like there's a lot of legacy bands on there, and I think that's because in 2020 the festivals had come to agreements with bands, and they weren't able to play those shows, so they just rolled over the bill to the next year and the year after that. So if you think about the 2022 and 2023 festival season, it's going to be, you're going to have like 2 years worth of upcoming fresh new talent that's all dying to get on the bill, and that ticket buyers will be excited about going to see. I don't think any of that is going to alleviate the difficulties in finding transportation for a band like Ghost, who presumably need more than one tour bus. They need one for the band. If Tobias has got any sense, he'll have one for himself as well. Singers always should, I think. Just as a point, I would not just saying it because I'm a singer. It's just how I've always felt since becoming a singer. Also, the crew, the caterers, all those people, they all need to get from A to B, don't they? And then from B to C.
And also, not to sound too political or too aware of things, but we had to plan a tour in Europe also now in the winter, and Europe is just too weird right now. There's too much going on, and there's a huge energy crisis, so it was a nice relief to feel like, let's come back in March or something, let's do something else, let's just stay out.
Yeah, that's another thing as well, the energy crisis. I mean, some people in the UK have got astronomical heating bills. They can barely feed themselves. The likelihood of them spending any money on a gig is very, very slim, I would say. Maybe it's good to have a little rest, but no. But it just makes you wonder what's next. What will be the next political or natural disaster that comes to scupper the music trade? It's tough out there, kids.
We have so much going on in 2023 anyways. We're going to do the whole fucking world.
The whole fucking world. That's what I should say on the t-shirt as well. The whole fucking world tour. I'd go and see that. Going back to the fact that we had to cancel a whole European tour. People often ask us, when are we going to reschedule the whole European tour? We have no answers for them. It's impossible for us to plan that at the moment. For the reasons that Tobias mentioned. For us, it's more about the availability of the venues and how inclined to put a darkness gig on the promoters are. It's tough out there. It really is. And I'm quite tempted to do the same thing. Hunker down. Do some YouTube stuff instead. What do you think? Justin Hawkins writes again. Meerkat chews, vegan and delicious. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch one of these 2 videos, and support your local musicians because they're suffering, as Tobias correctly stated. Nice one. Oh, shit. Fucking meerkat chews.